You are listening to an exclusive on PodHub Network. Your city, your podcast.
To the delight of this crowd, McClendon marches down the dugout steps with first base. McCutcheon's throw. The runner breaks to the plate. Here's the throw. Wow. He is out. The Buccos win.
That ball's hit well to left center field. Back toward the track. And that ball is gone.
You are listening to the North Shore 9 podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, make sure to watch NS9 Live every Thursday on Twitch and help support by becoming a patron. Let's go Bucks!
Hey. Yo. Hi, people. I'm back. What's up, guys? I don't know what happened, but my feed paused on this stream for somehow or another, and so I got out and came back in. But with that said, we're back, smooth as ever, as always.
I was waiting on Jim to just jump in with a yo.
So are we actually live right now?
Somewhat good enough. We are live. We are live.
Okay.
I can hear everyone too.
How off was I coming back in? Like, was there a big gap from the time that the intro ended?
No, it was pretty close, but you just got all three of us looking at each other. Like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, that was weird, but we're good. We're good. But
well,
with that said,
I have to watch the intro, which that was pretty cool.
Yeah, we're a little different tonight. We got a special guest on with us. We got Ethan on. Everyone except say Ethan. Everyone knows who Ethan is. You just say the word Ethan, one name. We all know who he is. So
he's like Madonna.
Before we get to Ethan, as always, we have our host. We have Tyler with us. We have Jim with us. And, of course, we have Ethan. What is up, everyone?
Not much here.
You guys are just full of life. What is wrong with this? Is 2 weeks in a row.
To be honest,
no, this is.
I was
go
really
ahead,
hoping that me and Denardo would catch each other and make Jim and Ethan feel awkward.
Yeah.
Not say anything.
I've had one of those weeks this week where, like, do you ever just have a few days where you just wish you weren't an adult? Like, adult life stuff comes up, and you're like, why do I have to deal with this?
Most of them.
Oh my god. Plumber, had to have a plumber, had my tires changed, and while my tires were getting changed, they yanked out a bunch of wires from my car. It's been a week. It's been a week.
I had my roof redone this week, and finally from that tree.
And you've got a mysterious creature scratching in your basement.
Yeah, a gremlin.
That has gone away, I think.
Okay, that's good. I was going to need an update on that.
I haven't heard it in a couple of nights, but it did move locations one morning. That was a little unsettling.
So, Ethan, I have a question for you. How excited do you get when someone posts the wrong contract or Rule 5 information to dunk on them?
Well, after Denardo gave me that Stone Cold Steve Austin, I'll call it a GIF, meme, whatever, but I just don't like wrong information, that's all. Especially when it's available, when I have it all. Just use it, Rob.
Ethan, that was mean. We're not mean around here.
Good advice.
I'm mean sometimes, apparently, though.
Let's not go there, Jim.
Not me. Never been mean to another soul.
No, you're the nicest.
I just love the flex. He's just like, I had the wrong information, dummies. Just use it. Like, what the hell's wrong with you?
It's like not open in the dictionary if you don't know how to spell a word.
I just
or spell check.
Ethan will go through like a Jason Mackey article and just pick out 8 different things that are incorrect, and then he'll have to change the entire article after he already published it.
Honestly, I'm surprised Mackey hasn't blocked Ethan yet. Just from
we got in a tiff one time. That was not fun. He took offense to something I said to him. It wasn't even offensive. I don't know, but
which again, go back to how the show started when I said all I have to say is Ethan. Everyone knows who Ethan is. Just everyone knows.
I value correct information. That's all. because, and that's why I like this stuff. It's factual. It is. It's not opinion.
So let's talk about your opinions today.
Do you have?
I don't like not a ton of them. I try not to share them.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't factually prove it, do you even really think about it?
That's kind of how my brain works. Like I instigate a whole lot of people in my life for that very kind of. My wife can't take it, but if it's not, if you can't prove it with facts or data, or that's what I value. Like, my opinion doesn't really matter. What matters is what is and what is factual.
So what do you think of Pro
proven?
Football Focus? Since they think they're factual and none of it is.
I don't watch a whole lot of it. I watched the Steelers game. That's about it.
I figured he'd take offense to the data that's based upon grades.
I've seen you railing against them recently, but I don't know a whole lot about them.
Darn. I really wanted to.
I mean, I think they're just like any other advanced metric. You use them as another tool, right?
I don't think it's a metric if it's based upon a subjective grade.
I mean, you could say wins above replacement is subjective.
Yeah, I don't value that stat.
Yeah, you do.
Not really. Only if it supports my argument.
You do.
Only if it supports his argument.
It counts for everybody but catchers, right?
Right.
I actually don't really like WAR because you shouldn't have 3 different outcomes based upon what website you go on.
I don't like that argument.
I do.
I've always seen it. You got 2 chocolate cakes sitting in front of you. One you made with water and the other one you made with coffee because that enhances the cocoa flavor. They're both chocolate cake, right? But the inputs are different. That's all. That's the only thing with WAR. One has a different defensive. One has they're not the big issue with that is people call it WAR as if that's the stat, but it's not. It's B WAR. It's F WAR. It's WARP. They're totally different stats. It's like saying, well, our batting average with runners in scoring position is the same as batting average. I don't like either of those, but that's akin to what you're saying. That it's batting average. Well, those are 2 different things.
Yeah, but going back to the cakes, one is good, one is not.
The chocolate coffee might be
really
better.
They both serve a purpose.
Yeah, well, one's way better than the other. So they're not really
True,
on the
but
same
they are
level.
both
Maybe. All right.
This isn't labor, guys.
This is good.
Well, I had a good segue about the offensive talks, and I was going to segue it into there's a lot of offensive talks going on between the owners and the players, but you guys ruined it by talking about chocolate cake.
I don't understand segues. Why? Just say the next thing. Don't make something.
Tyler's the king of segues.
Ethan, like you said, your opinion doesn't matter. But I guess
you know what else doesn't matter?
What?
The baseball labor negotiations.
They matter to this guy.
Well, I was just
They
gonna
don't
say,
matter.
so,
They don't matter to anybody right now because they're not even having them right now.
Who has
Seems
2
like.
thumbs and matters, or the labor talks matter too.
Yeah.
This guy.
Okay, so since I'm the one that actually read Ethan's article,
I just finished it. I'm finished it.
I listened to it. Same thing.
I am going to ask Ethan of his opinion, even though he doesn't like to give them. It really seemed like in your last part that you think really, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but nothing's really going to change and we're just going to get a deal done. Maybe a few tweaks.
I will say before we get into anything, I read 40 plus articles. That's not a lie. I had already read them before and then I was saving them all, bookmarking them. And I'm like, I'm going to go back, revisit them all. None of this is, I'm not talking to players, executives, insiders. I'm just reading what those people are saying. So I'm just kind of relaying all this information in one place. But that seems to kind of be the thought process is that, we're a whole bunch of sound and fury signifying nothing, that will kind of end up with small tweaks, but mostly status quo. We're not getting the one big change everyone wants, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I agree there. I think the thing with the status quo, though, like we are going to have to see something change in terms of, percentage of revenues going to players, because I mean it's basically at an all-time low right now. what was it, a decade, 15, 20 years ago, players were getting 50 to 55% of the revenue somewhere in that area.
I wish there was an actual figure for that. I mean,
Yeah.
That's very much of an opinion, Jim.
That's kind of the thought that it was probably in the 50s.
Yeah.
You've seen as low as 30s right now, and
Right.
that's the player's big grift is revenues are increasing. Why am I saying payrolls, salaries? That's what I was looking for. Are staying if the same, if not going down a little bit, and that's their issue. And I'm totally with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, payrolls aren't going up exponentially with revenues. I mean, they're not going up in a proportionate amount of dollars. So, yeah, you got all-time record revenues, and you are getting all-time record deals done. Like you're seeing these mega deals that people are signing, but and I'm under the impression that the owners really don't have an issue paying the mega stars mega money. They don't have an issue with it. They're fine with it. Their issue is they want to suppress the wages of the 90% of players and keep them under team control for as long as possible. And their reasoning behind that is, competition for competition purposes. But at the same time, you're looking at the best players in baseball are going sometimes 4 years essentially, and they're making $500,000-$600,000 a year, right? So that's the player's issue, and I get it. You're spending a lot of your time being super productive and not getting paid for it.
The players are putting it all as competition. We want competition to be better. We want teams to try. We don't like teams that aren't trying. And Jim, I know that's a particular issue for you, and especially with the Pirates.
Yeah.
But the owners on the other side are saying, well, we want to foster this competition. We want we don't want to take players away from small markets. We don't want to take money away from small markets. But that's what they're saying. What both sides are actually meaning, though, is players, we want more money through that competition. The owners are saying we want to spend less money or the same amount of money with the deal we have. So they can say what they want. And actually, both sides are being pretty clear, or they actually are kind of saying the players have been more clear than the owners. We want more money. The owners are saying, small markets, integrity, fans. No one cares about the fans, and I don't think they should. This is a labor negotiation. The fans are not part of a labor negotiation, and labor negotiations are about money. It's fine. Just say that. That's what it's all about. It's an employer and the employee, and that friction's always going to be there because one side wants to make more, the other wants to not pay for it as little as possible. So that's the issue, and I just find it extremely fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, baseball is it's sports in general. It's going to be weird because I feel like, if you have a regular labor negotiation, right? Like Starbucks today, it was the first Starbucks store. They finally voted on a union, right? Like, and that's a big deal. People are like, yeah, way to go, Starbucks employees. But like, you don't have like fans outside like cheering on Starbucks employees and getting like emotionally invested into Starbucks employees, or like just Starbucks in general. Like, I love Starbucks, but I don't buy hundreds of dollars worth of Starbucks gear and spend money to watch Starbucks being made or things like that, right? So sports is in like a unique situation.
We just knock off the name and make it a morning show.
Yeah, so it's just a weird situation where like, yeah, it's a labor negotiation, right? And people should generally always be in favor of labor, right? Because people are labor.
In my opinion, yes.
So it's like, why is it when it comes to sports, it's all of a sudden the opposite, right?
Well,
and it's because of the fan part, right? Like we invest more in the teams, right? It's more about the Pirates and the Steelers and the Penguins. Like those institutions have been around for 150 years. If you're the Pirates, basically, players come and go, but no matter what, you're gonna be a Pirates fan, right? Whether they have Brian Reynolds or not, you're gonna be a Pirates fan. So I think that's just kind of I understand the fans. I get both sides of the argument. I get why fans are like, let's make it competitive. This should help us out. That, I understand that argument because it's different. It's just different with sports because that emotional involvement. And I know you're not really an emotional involvement type of guy.
I don't want to go too far down the weeds of my little back and forth recently, but that was my hang up. You will, or the indefinite you fans, whomever will use the word we. I do not use the term we because I'm not part of it. I'm not playing on the field. I don't have a stake in it. And that's always, I don't understand fan mentality. I just don't. There are more important things to me going on, in my opinion, to get so wrapped up in it. And that's kind of how and Tim has kind of said this is, we've been back and forth, or he's posted it, as well as he wanted to have the 40,000 foot view of what's going on. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think I'm able to provide and that's why I was specifically mentioned the taboo words salary cap in my last portion of the article, which, it's everyone, the fans want it. So they think it's there, they think it's happening. They're being told it's going to happen. And no one's actually paying attention. Just because you want something doesn't mean it's actually that's what is on the table. So that's why I try to keep detached. A game will end and I'll turn it off and I'll go tuck my daughter in because that's what's important to me. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's funny that
I
feel like Pittsburgh fans in particular are like all about the salary cap, right? No one else cares. Nobody else cares. It's literally
there are other fan bases that care.
Are
I'm
there?
sure there would be.
I don't know there are.
I
can't.
I am sure that all 4 Rays fans care.
Do they? They aren't even gonna have a team anymore. They'll be in Montreal. The Montreal
That's
Rays.
why there's only 4 of them. I'm sure all 7 Athletics fans care.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely people out there that are cheering on for a salary cap, not just Pirate fans and such. But to Ethan's point, it doesn't matter if they are because the MLB owners aren't, and the MLBPA isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no discussions of one even partaking. So what are we even talking about?
No, I agree.
And that was about one of the only opinions I kind of mostly let slip in. I tried to keep it as mostly this is what's happening. I wanted people to know this is what's actually happening. Now Tyler knows. Out of the other 2, I don't know.
I said I know. I just read it. So let's get into that then. So let's get into we have a lockout now. What next? What can we actually expect out of this? What can we expect the players to get? What can we expect the owners to get? I mean, I agree that the salary cap, salary floor. That's as much as some people are going to make a big deal of it in this market. It's just not. It's not on the table. It's not a possibility.
Let me explain it real quick. The league floated it in their first and only official proposal. The league make one proposal. They say they were trying. That doesn't seem like trying to me, but it was in there. The players said, "No, thank you. We're not doing this. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck." And the players are against it for many reasons. And then the owners know they're against it, but they thought, this is our first go at it. Might as well try. And they said no. And then the owner said, okay, that's fine. And that they took it away because the deal was tied to 29 and a half years for free agency, but the owners now aren't taking that. So that the 2 were tied. You couldn't have one without the other. And it also meant a significantly decreased tax line, but now the league is offering to raise it. And so that offer's off the table. So there's nothing, as you said, there's nothing to discuss, but I at least just wanted to just say why we know that that's the case. And that's the thought process behind it. So there are other things to discuss.
Yeah. So I think, like I said, we mentioned it before. Big issue with the players is getting paid more quicker, right? Younger players getting paid more than they are right now. Owners obviously are wanting some things like expanded playoffs. They're wanting, maybe some rule changes, things like that. But it sounds like those are even
Well,
Probably
if you would
not
have
even
read
on the
Ethan's
table.
article, you would have found out that both players and owners are kind of okay with the expanded playoffs, but players want 12 teams and owners want 14. I read the article, you didn't.
I'm just setting up the question for Ethan to explain it, Tyler.
The players, and this is what I built my whole article around. I thought I want to contribute something to the space, but what is it? And a while back, The Athletic published a piece in which, word for word, they gave the players what the players were looking for. There's 4 main tenets, and I'll just read them right off my screen. Incentivizing competition, ensuring the most talented players are on the field, reducing artificial restraints on competition, getting players their value earlier in their career. So the players are basically coming with a 4-pronged approach, and I think I counted 9 basically proposals under those 4, and the owners are open to some of them and totally against some of them. The revenue sharing bit, totally against, which that's a very interesting one if you guys want to discuss that. I thought I had a very apt metaphor for it.
I do. But go ahead.
We can discuss when the league is totally against the service time, and the players have kind of accepted that's probably something we're never going to fix, the manipulation part of it. So they kind of have an interesting idea, but again, the leagues aren't going for it. The free agency, league's not having it. And again, it's all there are some that the significant raises to the CBT. No, and that's why I use the air quotes. The league says, "Oh, we're offering to raise it by a whole $4 million, a 1% increase, and less than 1% for the rest of the term." And that's kind of where the players, one of the big missteps of the last 2, they were like no raises in the 2016. No, 11 to 16. It was basically stayed static the entire time, and that was a big misstep on because it should be going up. As we talked about, revenues are going up, salaries should be going, or how much you can pay in salaries should go up, but it's not, and that's one of the big hang-ups between the two. I could probably keep talking, but the draft order too. That's another one. That's probably not all 9, but
so of everything that's happening other than the universal DH, what do you think is the most likely thing that the players win out of this? Because the universal DH is probably a win for everyone.
Most likely, I don't know how it's going to come, know what it's going to look like, but younger players will get paid more. The owners are offering actually a 3-tiered structure, which is different than what is instituted right now. There's 1 minimum for all 1 to 3 salary, or 1 to 3 years of service. And they were offering a minimum for 1 year, minimum for 2, minimum for 3. And of course, the players thought it should be higher. No indication of how high. None of them went up above $1 million as far as the league was proposing. So I'd assume probably somewhere in the $1 million to $3 million range. But like I said, there's no reporting onto how high the players want, just that they want it higher. But even more important than the minimum increase, the players are hoping for a bonus pool of some kind, where basically, like Brian Reynolds makes the All-Star team this year, he gets a significant pay for that because he's earning it, and the owners aren't necessarily against that either. I think they're more apt to pay if someone earns it.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I can't wait until teams start suppressing all-star votes like it's service time.
That's true. Instead of the Twitter accounts being like, vote Brian Reynolds, it'll be like, oh no, vote.
Because radio silent.
Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah, vote someone else. Vote for these guys.
Vote this
Twitter was hacked.
Well, we've seen that. I mean, I guess every once in a while you'll see like players not hit their plate appearances or their innings limits.
I don't know how much.
I don't
know how much you guys value David Sampson's opinion. I used to listen to his podcast. I kind of gave up on it. There were some things I didn't like that he was talking about. But that's one of the things as an executive he swore by. He said, "We do this." He said, "We pay attention to how many innings. If you got an incentive, we're taking you off the field." And we saw, who was it? Ivan Nova a couple years back, right? He missed.
Yeah. I think it was him.
It was something like clearly he could have made another start, and it was something he was pushed back, or it's not like he didn't make the start. It was he didn't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure with him it was game started, right? Isn't that what his escalator was?
And you can't you can only put clauses into contracts not like performance contracts. So you can't say, oh, if you hit 300, it's if you hit X amount of plate appearances, innings, games finished. So basically, were you on the field, not how did you perform while you were on the field.
Now you can do like if you make the All-Star team, if you win an award, those come into play. But yeah, from like a stats standpoint, the performance standpoint, those don't.
And the thing about those is, try as hard as I might on the couple inside sources I have, I think that meant that 0 to 3 contracts have those in them. I just don't know to what level. I do know that Brian Reynolds, I have on Authority, made $10,000 for his All-Star appearance. But I don't know if your run-of-the-mill pre-arbitration contract has that in your. And again, it's just $10,000. Like, so the league is, or the players are probably looking for more, probably looking for a bigger. The league again. The league's suggesting comes from one source. The players are suggesting is coming from another. But both agree that we're open to this. So I think that's it. That's one thing you're definitely going to see, and that's what I was trying when I was reading. Where do the two sides agree right now? Because if they agree now, not like they're going to diverge later down the road.
So let's talk a little bit more about the 0 to 3 years of service time, right? Because I brought this up in my, it was DK put up his like 30 points or whatever. So I made my 8 points. Right.
I read Alex's. I don't read as much of his.
But one of my
30, Jim. I feel like you're going a little overboard. I think
it was like 21.
it was like I was reading like
points for what
Wilson or something. But
was it stuff he wants to see in the
yeah.
We're 1 to 29 salary cap.
Basically, yeah. But my so I put in there, minimum salary of $1 million. After 1 year of service time, 1.5. After 2, go to 2 million. Right. So that was my proposal, right, that I made and part of my 8 points. But so I want to kind of just talk about that because I think I agree with you. Like, we're going to see some sort of change there. I don't know if we'll see 1 to 1.5 to 2 million. I think those are reasonable numbers, but we'll see how that goes. But I also want to kind of say the flip side here, like that right there, that gets the players, under that. We're looking at 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. Wait, I can't do math. 4.5 million dollars we're getting right over 3 years. Is it possible? Because part of this whole thing is owners aren't spending money in free agency and for players who are past arbitration, because why would I pay?
Even in arbitration,
that too. Yeah, I mean, you look at the Pirates' moves, right? They were all based around. There were a lot of people who you could have released from this roster a few weeks ago. The people they picked were the ones in arbitration, right? So by doing that, could you potentially make that process of, okay, after 3 years now, we're cutting career short. Now we're cutting career short after 1 or 2 years because we're not even going to pay you $1 million. Like, we're not even going to pay you $1 million. We're not even going to pay you $1.5 million because we can get the exact same caliber player like you who has 0 service time as opposed to you who has a year of service time. So
I wrote something similar, and this is actually a thought I kind of had myself, and then it was reinforced by a Buster Olney article I wrote. So I always feel good whenever something like that happens. Mm-hmm. But he was suggesting sources who are saying inside the game, the players might want to watch this because if you move arbitration eligibility back from 3 years to 2, all you're doing is possibly increasing the non-tender pool. And if you have more players who are non-tendered, you got more free agents, more supply, price goes down, basic economics. Mm-hmm. And now I can totally see that. And if owners are less apt to pay arbitration salaries, then sure, you're right back where you started, which could be an issue. And I think it was an agent or something quoted in the story that said, unless teams have a pressure to pay, like you're basically being forced to pay, then you're probably not going to get any better off than where you started. Mm-hmm. Now, another interesting idea I have as far as raising the minimums is right now the calculus is if you pay a player, you don't want to pay a veteran $3, $5, $4, $5 million if you can pay a rookie $500,000. But if you have to pay a minimum player $3 million, $5 million, whatever it is, are you more apt to pay that veteran for a little bit more? So not only maybe are you, maybe you're decreasing the amount paid to a younger player. Now you might even be increasing the amount of veterans who are seeing their time relate to other players go down significantly. That was another very interesting part of Travis Sawchik's story that I quoted in my story. It's the swing from veteran plate appearances, WAR produced, and as opposed to younger players, is just fascinating. It's just done a complete 180 almost.
Yeah.
And so that's also, I think the union would like, we want to give some of our more veteran members, throw them a bone. That possibly could be a way to do it. Just by simply significantly raising the minimum salary. And then guess what also raising the minimum salary does? If, say you have a $5 million minimum, real quick math, that's $130 million salary floor. Now, of course, you're just simply paying the same people you would be, just more money, but it's still an effective, much higher floor, which gives everyone what they want.
Kevin Newman would be out of a job if we had minimum salaries of like $2.5 million, because you can get the same damn production from some scrub in AAA for a quarter.
That is one thing I'm wondering. He's agreed to a $1.9 million deal. Say the new minimum in the new deal is $2 million. What happens to his salary? I was thinking about that recently. I wonder if it goes up. Is it grandfathered in? I don't know. That's stuff that goes on in my head.
I'm just.
We might have tell Ethan here, but I feel like it'd be grandfathered in. They'd have like steps to it, right? Something like.
I would assume it would go into effect in a few years, like it would be gradually implemented somehow.
Yeah, I would. Well, not if you raise the minimum immediately.
But I feel like that would be next year that would have to take effect. Because this year's already done with, like you're saying, right?
Well,
so
probably less than 10. Probably less. Well, less than 10% of these minimum contracts are probably agreed to have pen to paper right now. They tendered deals in November 30th, but they didn't sign. But that's not the same as signing. You don't agree to a deal until March. So there's no, unless you're Michael Perez or Kevin Newman or Ben Gamel, you don't have an amount on your contract yet.
Right.
But like you guys were saying earlier about it possibly hurting players, a guy like Kevin Newman's probably out of a job if we have minimum salaries for guys in their third or fourth year.
Someone has to have a job.
Yeah, some guy
he could be, but on the other end,
for a lot
like
cheaper.
The point I was getting at is now I'll tell you what. So I listened to Pierre Moreland talked about this a little bit today. He made some really good points, and I think a lot of it deals around. Well, I shouldn't. He more or less preferences it as a lot of it just dealt around competition, right? It's not so much like you're just squeezing the middle guys out because, like Jim says, you can just throw a AAA guy in there and he's going to give you the same production. They're not. Like these guys are probably better. The difference is you have so many teams that are tanking. Why pay that player, like Ethan saying, the $5 million when the goal isn't to win anyway? So the goal isn't to have a better player. The goal is to be cheap and lose. So let me go ahead and slide this $500,000 AAA guy in there. So that's where I feel a lot of it. And so to the Pirates' point, right? Let's preference over to the Pirates here. Chad Kuhl, you can make that argument. You're doing it with Kevin Newman, but like Chad Kuhl is not good. He wasn't good, but he's a major leaguer. And for the Pirates, it wouldn't make sense for them to keep him because even though we need starting pitching all over the place, why pay him $3 million when we can just go ahead and sign and get this guy for $500,000 in here, and there's a net savings of $2.5 million. So I think that's where a lot of it is. Like hearing his side of it kind of makes sense. Like we have so many teams that are tanking, and the goal isn't to win. It's not even so much that the talent gap is the problem. That it's so close. It's just the fact that the goal isn't to win. There's no incentive to win. Right, the incentive is almost to lose right now in this structure. So let's go cheap here, and we can continue to lose. So I think like you're talking about, Ethan, in the article as well, which they brought up, is having like the lottery kind of helps in that. Having where you can't have the top draft pick, for more than 3 years helps that because now there's not an incentive to just stay at the bottom like the Orioles have for so long and just ride that out. You got to start winning. You have to go into accelerated mode.
think about it, the Pirates wouldn't be able to pick top 5. They pick what, 1 and 4, or they It was 4 and 1. No, it was 7, 1. They will be 4. That's it. Okay. So this season 2022, are they going to want to be as bad? Are they going to actually try in 2022 as opposed to not, because they wouldn't be allowed to pick top 5 in the upcoming draft under that system? Right. And DiNardo, as you're saying, and I do think the players are guising this all as competition. And of course it's because they want more, but competition raises prices. And well, sometimes in economics, I'm thinking of something different, but say a free agent hits the market and 25 teams are trying for him. Maybe there are 5, who are set at shortstop, set at catcher, whatever. They don't need him. But as opposed to maybe 5 teams who are bidding on the player right now, 25 teams, they bid against each other. They're trying hard. Everyone wants them. Price goes up. Same, that trickles down, hopefully. And everyone is trying. Everyone's spending more. Fans are happy. No one's actively trying to lose. And I saw that the players, if they can figure out something to actually make teams want to try, I do think a lot of these problems are fixed, potentially. Of course, I don't never say never, but I do think that really could help to foster a environment of trying, which doesn't exist right now.
Problem is there's not really a good solution that is going to
there's
work.
There's not a fix-all, I don't think. You can.
So if you read my points, right? My 8 points.
Screw your article, Ethan. Jim's got some points. He's got to.
I agree with the draft lottery system.
I spent 15 hours over the last 3 days.
A good 15 seconds on these points, Ethan.
And there were 8 of them, Ethan. 8.
You have me on special. Let's talk about Jim's 8 points.
Screw your 7,000 words.
No, this goes into what we were talking about, though. So draft lottery, at least it doesn't guarantee that tanking gets you, the top pick. You're likely to get it still, but if it's top 3 teams as the league's opposing, I think it needs to be more. I agree. The players are what, 8? I kind of like the NBA system where it's like, what is it, 15 teams?
I think it's third. Isn't it all? It's all non-playoff, so it's 14 teams.
Okay.
I want everything that the NBA does, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they do a lot of things right. But what I was saying to help with the tanking,
it is 8
you
points.
You can't finish in the bottom third of the MLB standings for 3 straight years. So for at some point in a 3-year span, you have to be a top 20 Major League Baseball team. Or
Jim, why don't we just go soccer and just relegate teams?
No, I'm not. No, that would be great. Don't get me wrong. That would be amazing.
I was literally going to say relegation might be one of the only ways.
So don't relegate, but if you've gone
delegate.
If you've gone 3 straight years,
regulate.
If you've gone 3 straight years in the bottom 10, you lose your first round pick the next year. You don't get a pick.
What if we expand and add another team? Then what?
Bottom 10, the bottom third, the bottom third of the league.
Off. That it's not a.
Well, it changes.
Could have it be a third of a team now.
I don't care what the number is. Pick whatever number you want, right? But what I'm saying is you can't tank basically for 3 straight years. So what Ethan was saying, if you're the Pirates and you just finished 30th and then 26th in back-to-back years, you don't want to lose a draft pick. So you're going to try like hell to at least be a top 20 team. If you're a top 20 team, that means you're in a playoff race, at least. You're in a wild card race, probably, at least until probably 2 weeks left in the year. So it at least makes things more competitive, more fun for the fans, right? We don't want to bring the fans into it, but it makes it more fun for the fans. And it makes it so that these teams have to actually try every once in a while. Yeah, you can go through a rebuild if you want, but you can only do it for 2 years. After 2 years, you got to then start trying.
While we're just throwing out radical ideas, let's just eliminate minor league teams, make players get to the majors quicker, eliminate jobs, layoffs, and then you can't tank.
Wait, didn't they do that already?
Whoa.
Hey, it fixes everything. Players get
I
up
feel like
quicker, they get paid quicker.
that's more radical than my idea.
I
Yeah,
don't like your idea though, Jim.
I like my idea. I don't want to wait 8 years.
I
for my guy
don't
in the
like
minors.
it.
You should be penalized for sucking.
You should, but I don't truly like that because you could also try and maybe your team just sucks.
You're right. You could, and then that's
I think that hurts. Like
shame.
what
That
if you
sucks for
were?
Yeah.
For example, like what if you were the Cubs
Embrace the suck.
and you
It's
just won't go
not-
anywhere? So you at this point in time you figure, all right, we're going to sell off. You're trying at the beginning of the year. The end of the year you're selling off. Now you become in the bottom. Your first year of actually like doing the rebuild is year 2. And then you're already in year 3. But I think that can get tricky.
No, you got to spend money to at least win, to be in the top 20. You got to win 75 games.
I think you could do something towards that. It's just, I think if you're in the bottom third, because here's the thing too, like if you do that, then every team's trying to compete. And I don't think you might get to the point. You're not because it's MLB and it's their owners, but you're probably going to get to the point where everyone's now trying to compete and it turns into less of payroll issues and more of you're the Cleveland Browns, your ownership and front office is terrible, and that's why you're not winning. So if you have terrible
What's wrong with that?
executives,
that should be,
and you're
part of
giving
it.
them less to work with, then you're like you're done. Your franchise is folding.
No, the way you get better is by spending money at the major league level, and then eventually, bam, then you're back in the draft.
But they could. They just aren't good at evaluating talent and developing talent.
So that's their fault.
I'm not totally going to say that spending equals winning. I've never felt that way, and I don't, the numbers suggest it too. So there is something to DiNardo saying that you could just be. Well, I'm not going to correlation. You don't believe correlation?
Correlation.
That's
causation. I learned that one time.
You are more likely to be a good baseball team if you spend than if you don't.
Just because the Rays won a couple.
I don't know.
The Rays throw a wrench. The Rays and A's throw a wrench in everything and make this
just because they're super smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're terrible to watch if you're a fan.
Let's put it this way: you have
get attached.
You have less excuses of why you can't.
Your margin
win
for
if you
error
have
is
more money.
much smaller.
True.
That's how I've always viewed it. Yes.
Same. That's how I absolutely look at it.
Okay, so
the Yankees and Dodgers can eat and pay for their mistakes, where some of the smaller markets.
But it also brings around to the other, and again, maybe we'll go back around to this revenue sharing bit. It's
yes, because I want to.
How much do you believe that these teams who claim they're so bad, who need so much help, how much do you believe what they're selling? Is it because they have no money? It very much hinges on that. We don't know if they do or not. They're the ones who know. And that's kind of what do they seriously need? Does the field need leveled? Somehow. Does it? And again, I'm of the opinion if this were me in a perfect world, the Dodgers are spending $500 million and the Pirates are spending 150 to 200, and everyone's trying as hard as they can, pushing it as much. And if in theory, though, there's still a gap.
Yes.
But maybe the Dodgers are just paying Mookie Betts $50 million a year, and the Pirates are paying whoever there's probably a better player than they have now, but it's 15 to 20, and everyone's making a whole lot more than what they're making now. And I think part of it is just you would look at a $600 million contract, what? And just fans would just not buy that. But I think there's the money there for that, probably. And in the perfect world, that's how I view it. But I think it's answering that question. Is that something? Is revenue sharing needed? Are all those mechanisms necessary?
In a perfect world, there's revenue sharing and everyone's spending up to the whatever they have allotted.
Right. So that's why I want to really get into the revenue stuff, because you made a good analogy of this. Okay. And I liked hearing that because, when you hear that the Players Association says they don't want it, I was taken back. Like, whoa, what are you talking about? This is giving more money to teams like the Pirates and Rays to spend on you, and you want to cut that cord from them. That took me back. So for one, I want you to talk a little bit about that. But the other thing too, like this is what's always bothered me about when you start talking like their baseball needs no cap and teams can spend. And I get that. Like, could the Pirates spend more? In my mind, yes. Could the A's spend more? Like, could all these other teams spend more? Yes. But ultimately, if you're asking those questions about those teams, then the answer is absolutely yes to the Dodgers and Yankees and Cubs. So it's like, if you feel like the Pirates can spend $150 million, cool. But what did you solve? Because if they can do that, then the Dodgers will go out there and spend $600 million, like you said. And we're in the same situation we are now as far as teams go. It's just, which is good for the players. The players are winning, but the economics of baseball, the air quotes problems of baseball still exist. They're just at a much higher level. Instead of 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 million to 200 million, it's now 150 million, which is cool, but 600 million for the Dodgers. And they're still the big bad Dodgers who can just throw money around.
It doesn't necessarily solve those problems. It just players would make more money, and that's what I would like to see.
I get that, and that's true. But to me, there is still an economic dynamic between markets. Like, there's still a big market and small market do exist. Like, if you want to talk about facts, like factually speaking, LA
absolutely
is much bigger than Pittsburgh. So for the people, like, this is what, when I was going back with Gone Posting, right, Kevin, a little bit about this, like, this is my biggest thing. Like, I see these issues and I do feel teams and these owners can spend more, but I don't think that solves the problem, because I don't foresee Steinbrenner just being like, oh no, the Pirates offered this guy $30 million. I'm not going to be able to sign him now. He's going to say, well, screw you, Bob Nutty. I can spend $35 million. You know, like, they're not going to allow the Pirates to win World Series by spending money. They're just going to ultimately also spend money, you know? So, like, I still feel like these issues would still exist. And that's why I also do tie into the fact that you are absolutely correct about these labor arguments. They're not for the fans. They're not about the fans. But what I do think does matter is, if you lose fans, you lose money. And if you're not thinking about that as well in these negotiations, you could be missing out on stuff. Like, you could be getting too small minded in these and lose out on your product, if that makes sense.
Sports is interesting in that it's an entertainment product. It's also an on-field product. Because I've always kind of thought, well, the players shouldn't really care what the fans have to say, because they're just trying to win. But that is diametrically opposed to what the Pirates as an organization. They're trying to sell the game to their fans, their customers, and so those goals don't necessarily align. And I will admit, this will be me laying it all bare. I tweeted something about this a month or so back. I'm anti-cap because I consider myself pro player, but I'm not smart enough to make the argument of, well, am I wrong in that stance? Is I'm not an economist. I can't explain my opinion. It's just in that why my opinion is that simply, I don't want the onus or the owners to say, well, I'm not spending, so this is what we have to do. I'm not going to do it. So Evan Drellich had said it in one of the podcasts I listened to, and I posted it to my Twitter because I liked it. That's the owners bringing water to a fire they started. And I don't think we should let them off the hook for that. That's kind of my philosophical side of it. But I can't say for sure from like an economics point of view, is a cap not best? I have opinions, but I don't know. So I can't totally argue for it, which is why I kind of try not to. Mm-hmm. I say that I'm anti-cap, mm-hmm. but I don't try to argue it because I can't.
Right. And I mean, if you look at, the argument for the people who are pro cap, right, it's all fan sided.
Right.
But mostly. And you can also make the argument, hey, like, look at the NFL, right? Like, let's look at the NFL. The NFL they've got a cap, they've got a floor, they've got a full-on revenue sharing system. Every team makes the exact same amount of money. It's basically, like a utopia for everybody. The owners are making a ton of money. The players are, for the most part, making a ton of money. There was a dispute, a few years back, but like, no one in the NFL is hurting. Like, the NFL's thriving in really all aspects of it, right? So it's like, if you look at that, do you say, okay, this is working there? And I know Pittsburgh in particular, Pittsburgh fans look at the Penguins. The Penguins wouldn't be the Penguins without a salary cap. They couldn't have Sidney Crosby. They couldn't have Evgeny Malkin. They couldn't have Chris Letang. They couldn't have all these stars on their team without a salary cap. They couldn't. The Steelers wouldn't be, I mean, maybe the Steelers, because they're a little bit different. They're a national team, really. But like the Penguins are a perfect case scenario where, even the Penguins can have superstars and keep them there forever, because of a salary cap. If it wasn't for that, it might not happen. And that's made the Penguins competitive, right? They won the lottery. They got the best player in the world. And for the next 2 decades, they are Stanley Cup contenders, right? So, I mean, I can see how fans can be like, I want that for baseball. If we draft somebody, why can't we keep him forever, right? Why can't we go back to the 60s and 70s where, hey, we got this Roberto Clemente guy and this Willie Stargell guy, and why can't we go and just keep them for 20 years and win 3 World Series, right? I see the argument. Like and I'm with you. I don't know what's better. For fans, the salary cap system is probably better, right? It probably is.
But I mean, I would just take it from that's not who you should be trying to appease. I mean, I just wrote a couple things down. That a cap is ensuring profit. You're fixing cost for that. This is what we're going to spend, and we're not going to spend more. And so, if you're going to fix it at 50%, why not just say, well, just spend 55? If you just do it. And I know that's a pie in the sky idea. It's idealistic, and to expect the ownership to say, well, 50, I'm just going to spend 55 because, and that's just, and again, I understand my opinion is mostly that opinion. So again, that's one of the things I'll share my opinion, or just basically, I'll just say I'm anti-cap. I don't like the idea of it, but I try not to argue against it. And rolling back to the analogy DiNardo started talking about that I wrote about, and it all hinges on it. It's, do these teams actually need it? And if I could say, well, just sign that player, Jim, that you said I drafted and brought up, and just sign them. But maybe they truly can't, and we don't know that. And maybe they could, but then that would cap them off at the knees somewhere else, and that maybe it's not actually financially prudent. Again, I don't know. I'm betting that it's probably more prudent than what they would lead you to believe. I'm not saying it's totally viable. And so it's such a hard, because I hate things in which there is no answer. I love answers. And to me, I just don't feel like there's an answer here. And it really irks me. And I wish there was, but I don't know it personally.
To be fair, okay, to be fair here, I know Ethan's talked about not wanting to appease the fans, but if we break this whole thing down to the bottom, the fans are the consumers. You kind of have to appease the fans at some point.
But I mean, Tyler, electrical workers have unions, right? I buy electricity. I have lights on above me. Don't they realize without me, they don't have a job? But I'm not horning in on the electrical unions negotiations,
That's fair, but
let me tie the two together here, because I get that aspect. This is why sports is different. Let's go back to what Jim talked about when Starbucks, right? I think it's New York, right? They formed the union here, right? I think the thing is, the difference here is, if it wasn't the employees that were doing this, right? It was the actual coffee. The coffee itself is saying, we want these, or we're not providing coffee anymore. And
the beans,
Mr. Starbucks,
yeah, the beans. Let's say the coffee beans are going on. Yeah,
right. Which was Howard Schultz. I think he's not there anymore, but whatever. Right. So Starbucks and the coffee beans now go into a labor, dispute. They hash it out. The beans get what they want. Starbucks gets what they want. Right. But ultimately, in making these things come together and agree on stuff, and both get what they want, the coffee sucks. And because the coffee sucks now, No one's buying the coffee anymore. And because they were so focused, this is where Tyler's coming in on this, because they were so focused on getting what they wanted, they missed out on actually what drives revenue so they both can grow and get the money they want. And now because the coffee sucks, Starbucks goes away and no one's buying it anymore.
I need coffee and I need baseball, or I need
There's
coffee.
there's
and I
other
need
things out there.
electricity. I
That's
don't
a-
need baseball.
That's a great analogy because you're right. The players, which is the labor, yeah, they're the labor, but they actually are
Like the electrician,
product,
like
right?
that's the difference.
Yeah.
I'm not going
Yeah.
up and saying, Ethan, you're such a great electrician. I want to watch you do this work because you're so fantastic at it. I'm just enabled. Like, I love your work.
He's
and
the
I'm just
Picasso of
walking
electricians.
around, right? I'm buying your tickets, right? You're going to be on, on 7th Street today. I can't wait. I'm showing up there. I'm watching you do this work. That doesn't happen. You're just labor. It needs to be done, right? When you need electrician, you need electrician, point blank. No one needs baseball. It's entertainment value. And I can go to the NBA if I want. I can go to NFL if I want. I can just not care about baseball anymore because I'm tired of these two sides arguing. I'm tired of this and that, whatever. It's boring anymore. Manfred's a terrible freaking commissioner. Like, I'm just done with baseball. That's why I think the problem of this exists. And that's why it's unique.
And I'm not totally against it. I would like to try and work a way out of this. I don't know how long we plan on going. I thought not something I want to talk to for half an hour.
No, that's fine. But
like the NBA, when you said, they do it right. There are huge salary differences in the NBA, despite the existence of a cap, because they have a soft cap and they can pay to keep their own players, and owners will spend out the nose over the cap. Like MLB owners won't spend an extra $3 million if it means them going over the luxury tax. NBA teams are cutting $70 million luxury tax checks. What is it about NBA teams that make them want to do that? I don't know. So is there a system in which that works? It sure seems that way. But again, I'm just antithetical to my ideals as a person. And I'll even say, LeBron James is making whatever he is a year, or, Mike Conley makes $40-50 million a year. But the fact that it's a max contract irks me. There shouldn't be a max. So if they could build something in the MLB that there's no max salary, there's a soft cap, that maybe there's a soft floor.
I'm down with that.
I'm all in for a soft cap. Yeah,
I could probably live with it. The idea of making it hard, saying, go back to the NBA. They had 57% of the revenues a couple CBAs ago. They're down to a band of 49 to 51. And that's another argument I'll make is eventually, they'll make more money. The league's coming for it. At some point, you tie yourself to that. They're going to want more. And I think the players deserve more of it. There shouldn't be a cap on what they can make. There should be a free market. Teams should want to pay them. And again, maybe it's ideological, or that's not the right word. It's, pie in the sky thought, but that's just kind of how I feel about it. I think.
And I agree with you there. Like, teams should want to pay the money, right? So then it's like, okay, how do we incentivize the teams to do this, right? So that's kind of going back to this. There should be incentives for winning, which I guess you can say that there are, but there should be penalties for losing. So I feel like a penalty is going to change behavior more than an incentive would, because I think the owners are just fine and dandy with what they have. Like they're fine. The owners would sign up tomorrow to just extend the same deal. I don't think they would have an issue with just saying, let's just keep going what we're doing.
I think Jim says he didn't read it. I'm not totally sure. Maybe he did. He just doesn't know it. Osmosis or something that seeps through. Like that is, I wrote that, and the players are so behind in what they're trying to get because the owners like what they have now. Mm-hmm. So if you have one side saying, well, we want this, and this, literally 9 things, main proposals I'm reading,
8
and
points.
The league. Yes, that's Jim's 8 points. But in my 400-point article, there were 9 points.
Yeah.
And the league is saying, well, we would like bigger playoffs, and that's kind of it. Because, well, we would like rule changes, but we can institute them ourselves. So Might as well not give that chip up. And we'd like an international draft, but you guys were silly enough to cap international spending last time, so we don't need that. And so if you have nothing you can give in negotiations, how are you going to win them? And I think that's a big issue. And that's why I think, Tyler, way back when we started this, that's why I don't see a whole lot of change, because the owners don't want it and they don't need it. And they'll give on something, mostly to get the expanded playoffs, which is why I think that'll happen. In what form, who knows? But it's because you have to give up something to get something. But the players, I do think, are asking for too much right now. They have to realize they can't win it all. You can't make up their last 2 or 3 CBAs worth of losses all in one. You can't do it. So focus on what you really want, figure out whatever that is, and really push for that. And then maybe if you can get something else. I would love to see incentives to winning. I just don't know. Is a draft order, the qualifying offer, is there the things on the table right now? I don't think there's any panacea out there.
Did we lose Ethan?
He's frozen on my screen.
I mean, he really hates talking about this cap, huh?
He gave up on us.
He's like, I'll make sure. He's like, I don't have to exit out of this conversation.
He's like, all right.
He's back. He's back.
You guys got tired of me. Was it just me? All 4 of our screens were spinning black. I don't.
It was just you.
It was just you.
My computer's getting tired of hearing me talk.
Yeah, that might be it.
One thing I did want to state though, because I want you to explain it, because I think you said it so well in your article. Like I said, you talked about going back to me talking about the revenue sharing. Like, how would the MLBPA not want revenue sharing happen? Right.
I loved that metaphor. We got to talk about it.
You talked about the parents, because again, that kind of took me back. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. When you explained it, you made the analogy. I'm like, this actually makes a lot of sense now. So explain to us why MLBPA doesn't want that to happen.
A little TMI first. That was a shower thought, actually. And I hopped out of the shower and I texted Tim, and I'm like, I can't lose this idea.
I've been there.
The players want seemingly teams to stand on their own and not suck off the system. And phrasing. So sorry that if they take money out of this, if they take money out of the system, they kind of think that's how it could be. So I made it analogous of the big market teams are parents to a college student that's, just graduated, needs to move home, until they find a place, find a job, whatever. And the parents say, fine, you can sleep in your old room, but we need you to contribute. We need you to pay some rent. We need you to buy some groceries. And yeah, okay, we have that agreement. Maybe they even made it in writing, and they were very rude and mean parents. But and then a couple months down the line, the student or the kid's like going out partying, spending all their money, doing whatever, and they're not holding up their end of the bargain. So the parents say, well, you're gone.
Did you make this tweet about me?
I don't think it wasn't a tweet. It was my 400 points. It was. And so the players are basically saying we need to kick those kids out, because all they are not holding up their end of the bargain. They are not doing what they said they would. They're not living in the spirit of the agreement, and they need to get out and do it on their own. And so if the players are basically saying the big market teams are funding these small market teams, I made this point in my article. The Pirates, more than likely, their payrolls, not even this year, but last year, were probably covered in total by revenue sharing. So, but the Pirates were horrible. So why, and the big markets hate this too. Actually, they don't like to see their money go to waste. They hate giving their money away to fund these rebuilds. And the players don't like it either. So you take that incentive away and you say, you need to try, or you need to become better. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to make yourself better. Don't just live off our dollar. Make yourself better. And that makes a lot of sense. But again, then I took it another step further to put a little Dave Ramsey in there. Does the college student have a business degree, or do they have did they major in left-handed puppetry? And the left-handed puppetry, if you believe what they say, would be the Pirates. We don't have the money to do that. We can't. And again, so that goes all the way back to what we were talking. Do you trust that that's actually what is happening? And do they literally need that money? And if they do, then the players are probably misjudging it. But I don't think the players think that. And the players have access to the books. They know what teams are making. They know teams are bringing in more money than what they actually are on. They don't like Wrigleyville. They don't like what's the new place outside of Atlanta? The Pirates are trying even for it now on the North Shore. They don't, or the BAMTech money, or all the outside revenues that teams are bringing in. They don't like that. That's not going to them. So you take their revenue sharing away. Say, do this on your own. Become self-sufficient. And I do think there's some credence to that. Like I said with Donardo said, you first read it and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But then you really start to think about it and like, there's at least a point, I think. There's a point there. And I think that goes back to our topic of incentivizing teams to do better. That could be one way to do it.
Right.
Because, I mean, like, talking about the draft again, if it were up to me, there'd be no draft. I don't think something like that is fair to the employee, this is where you're going to work. This is how much you're going to work for. But in that same vein, take the draft away, have free agency, make teams, those bad teams that are relying on those bad picks or top picks, make them try. Make the store owner that says, well, we have to do this, this, and this to bring in the customers or else we're going to die. And make the teams do that. Make them say, well, we're going to build the best facilities that players want to come. We're going to foster winning. We're going to do this, this, and this. Instead of just, well, we can sit back, kick our feet up because we have a $50 to $100 million revenue check coming in. And that's just revenue sharing. We also have some national TV. We have, whatever. And just rest on their laurels. The idea being, don't let them rest on their laurels. I do think there's some reasonable thought process to that.
I feel like another analogy to that is like, if you're a college fan, like Vanderbilt being in the SEC, right? Like Vanderbilt gets to rake in all this SEC money, and what does Vanderbilt bring to the SEC, right? So like Vanderbilt's like the Pirates of the SEC. And should Vanderbilt actually have to be like, hey, should the SEC be like, hey, Vanderbilt, let's try a little bit here. let's do a little bit better. Or do you just let Vanderbilt be Vanderbilt? Yeah.
Or Louisville in the ACC. I mean, it's the same thing.
I mean, think about it this way. Could it be much worse than if the Pirates are running out $30 million payrolls with revenue sharing, could it be much worse? I mean, yeah.
Good point.
Would they have whatever? Would it be a $13 million payroll, pay 26 million or 26 minimum salaries, and this is all we can afford? I doubt it.
I don't need to see the Bob Nutting, Barney Stinson gif. Like, challenge accepted.
Be going back to trading Aramis Ramirez in his third year of service time so he could meet payroll in June.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the Pirates were insolvent at that point. And that's what I understand what happened. But I don't think any teams are insolvent right now. They might tell you they are, or they'll act like they are, but I don't think any team is like that right now. I could be wrong. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean the Pirates literally had to trade Aramis Ramirez to make payroll. is the story that I've been told.
Oh, that's the definition of insolvent. Right. You can't pay your bills. So I don't think that's the case anymore. So who knows? I don't know. Is there an answer? Probably not. Which again is why we're probably going to go to something that's mostly status quo. But I'm going to keep paying attention to it no matter what. Well, I'm going to try. I got another kid coming here in a month, and I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to spend 15 hours over 3 days writing three articles of 7,000 words. I'm just about to tell you
Jim
that.
Jim got you.
Yeah, I got you.
Free babysitting or?
No, I'll just make another 8-point tweet.
Yeah. He'll be your ghostwriter.
Yeah, right.
Well, I guess to wrap this up, yeah, because what you did say there, and I know Tyler's already touched on this, but to wrap it up, to end how you ended your whole entire 3-part article.
I think I really stuck the landing. Just got I'm like, I have these 2 good articles. I was really worried about the third, but I was happy with.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm reading all this, and then like the very end, you're just like, and with that said, we're probably not going to see much. And I was just like, wait, hold up, wait a minute. So yeah, like you just kind of feel like there's all this going on, but come February, come March, whatever month it ends up being, that they come together and make a agreement that we're pretty much going to see baseball for the most part as it is today.
I think owners don't want changes, so thus they don't have to give up the changes. So it's just basically where do they see eye to eye right now? That's a draft lottery. That's increased the minimums. That's getting rid of the qualifying offer. And in short, there's probably things on the table that we don't know about yet. And maybe those will come to light here whenever maybe they get back to it. I don't know when they are. And who knows? Maybe it's not even Christmas. We don't know. And those things will come to light, and something will happen. Maybe Super 2 becomes 45% of instead of 22%, or just small things like that could foster a little bit more competition. But is there going to be a salary floor and a cap? And are there going to be 15 players instead of 9 on the field? It's not going to be anything crazy. It's going to be small tweaks. I think I could be wrong, but that's just the industry seems to think that it's going to be largely status quo. And so then it would feel like, why did we do this if all we got out of it is, well, expanded playoffs are kind of big, and a draft order, I don't know. I say that it's not big just simply because other sports are doing it. So it's just, would it be that shocking as a fan if you saw it whenever you're used to it in other sports? So
I agree, especially too, like with the draft not being instant. I don't think that would be a huge thing. It's not as if, oh no, we missed out on LeBron James this year, because in baseball there really isn't like a LeBron James.
I wrote all about it, and I think that's why. And it's a whole different topic, but draft picks are part of incentivizing losing. They've become so valuable that teams want them. So if you take the value away from those picks, does winning now become more attractive?
Right.
It's possible. I just don't know if it's, again, it might probably it's either taking completely away the cap to draft, or it's dissolving the draft, which, maybe I just solved it's winning. If there's no draft, what's there to lose? Why do you lose? There you go. I solved it.
There you go. Done. Baseball's fixed.
No draft. I've thought about that's an article I have I have this like 3 pages of notes on an article about that. I've never even thought, because I just would be ridiculed out of existence.
So I'm gonna need you to write that.
You want me gone? I really did. I really enjoyed writing this set of it. It started out as one article, and I was thinking it was Sunday, and I'm like, I got an idea, and it was like a fire. Like I have to do this. But when you got a kid, it was nap times and playing, and I had to wait. I could only find times of the day where I could do it, but I was really happy with how it turned out, and I really do like the reception. I think of people who have read it seem to like it.
Article.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's good.
And I'm glad that we broke it up as we did. It was kind of just making it more digestible, and that it made more sense, I'm sure, at beginning, middle, and I think it all flowed very well, and I was very happy with it. So share it and tell your friends.
Yeah, for sure. The link's in the podcast description. Check it out. It's a good article. Read it, or just tell Sierra to read it for you, whichever you prefer. And listen.
I think it's going to give you the best. Like literally, another source in Pittsburgh just said, "Well, they haven't even discussed a salary cap and floor. Like, we just talked about it for like half an hour because they discussed it." Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of thing you're reading elsewhere. And I think it's the best picture of what you're going to get that's going on right now, all in one place. There, of course, I got it from 40 different articles, but my goal was to narrow it down and put as much in as I could, make it as digestible and one-stop shopping.
There probably wasn't a better perfect fit for this to be written by anyone else other than you.
That's what Tim says. I tried not to.
I agree. I agree. Well, and it's because just like, I mean, your mindset at the beginning of the podcast, like it's you're looking at this from a 40,000 foot view, right? You're not writing this like a fan. You're not writing this like a media member.
That's what all the articles have been. How
Right.
how does this affect the Pirates? And it's like, I don't really, I mean, I do care about that, but tendentially it will affect them somehow.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, but then when you're viewing it from that, it's, well, what benefits me, or what do I think benefits them, or it's not actually viewing what is going on. So that's what I tried to do as best I could.
Neither side during this negotiation, their first thought isn't, well, how is this going to affect the Pirates?
That is true.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I see Tyler probably watching the Steelers game. So I think it's time we wrap this. Where they are, or how deep is it in now? I don't even.
They're losing.
I'm gonna.
Nothing.
Oh no!
Shocking.
Almost.
I was gonna go to. I was gonna head to the bar to watch this game, and yeah, it's almost the end of the first quarter. Maybe we should wrap up.
Boswell missed the field goal. The Vikings kicker missed the field goal, and then the Vikings missed an extra point.
So I couldn't even have told you they were playing the Vikings. So I'll hang up from this and I'll turn it on. But
Chase Claypool got a taunting penalty, like a child. What do we think about taunting, Ethan?
I was just gonna say I have opinions. Don't do it. If it's in the rules, don't do it. Jim knows my thought in life. Be nice. I don't think it's nice, so just don't do it. I wouldn't walk up to a person on the street and be like, "Hey, what's up?" I wouldn't do it. So don't do it on the football field. Don't get a penalty.
Fumbled.
I swear to God, Ethan, the day I actually meet you in person, I'm taunting the hell out of you.
You wouldn't be the first person. That's how I went all through high school.
I'm walking all up on you just like that, Ethan.
We should do like a trivia night, and if you like get a question right, just be like.
I love trivia. I love trivia.
Best. I do too.
I haven't done it in a long time, but
let's definitely wrap this up. Ethan, I really appreciate you coming on.
I very much appreciate you having me on. It was awesome.
And so check out the article. We'll talk to you later.
Follow along at Ethan Hullihen if you want the good news, the good info. That's where you go.
Yep. Have that in the links too. His Twitter handle. So definitely a good follow on Twitter.
And definitely make sure you check out his pinned tweet, so that way you're not getting called out by Ethan in the future. Always refer to his pinned tweet before you do anything about discussing payroll.
Transactions, contract status, anything. It's all there. Rule 5. Right. It's all there.
All right, guys.
Love.
We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.
See you guys.
Thanks.